This episode is about audio recorders. Now, when you're out in the wilderness and you're sleeping and something makes this great noise or a big tree break or you hear a knock and it wakes you up and you're like, something's going on. Let me grab my recorder and start recording the noises. And then you don't hear any more noises. And you're like, oh, crap. My suggestion to you is to actually find an audio recorder that you can record up to maybe 60 hours worth of audio on. And the main reason for that is it gets dark in the woods relatively early, like around 7:30 every night. And usually you don't wake up in the mornings until 7:30. So you have almost a 12-hour gap of nightfall that you're sleeping through most of it. Now, if you set up an auto recorder near where you're at or out in the wild a little bit to try and get some audio evidence, let it run all night long. And this has a lot of importance to it. For the fact that I just gave you that example in the beginning here, that if you're trying to only record after you start noticing evidence, you just potentially missed the best evidence that you could have had all week or however long you're out hunting for Bigfoot that time. So you always want to make sure that it's running all night. So bring extra batteries and extra SD cards if it takes an SD card or whatever audio recorder you use to help get your evidence. But I would suggest something with a large hard drive or capacity for SD card expansion. I just upgraded to this one because it actually has dual stereo mics or recorders to it to where the evidence is going to be a little bit more cleaner and in stereo, so you can kind of get this feel for left and rights, and it's a higher sensitivity. Good news about that one also is that it's not just one 14-hour track. It'll actually break it up into multiple hour and 20 minutes or 90 minutes or however many minutes that you want to set it to. You can actually set it to how long you want it to record into individual tracks. You won't miss any audio, but it'll separate it out for you, which is a really big help, let me tell you, when you actually go to review the evidence later back at home or whatever, and you're trying to sift through all of it. That if you're trying to listen to a 14-hour track from forward to finish and then still try and stop and pause and rewind and do everything you can to get to see what evidence that you have or that you've acquired, and it's just real long and tedious. That if it definitely helps if you could break it up into shorter amounts to where then you have the opportunity of listening to it intently each one of the hours that you were gone from the audio recorder and seeing what wild noises that you found. I usually set my recorders out around dusk, right before it starts getting dark, and then just let them run all night long until the morning. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you go down and you check everything. Check for footprints along your way, whatever you want to do, but then you get to your audio recorders, stop it. And obviously, it's a good idea to timestamp everything. And we'll announce that you're coming up towards it once you realize you're coming up towards it. So that way you don't assume when you're doing evidence review that you walking through the woods is a Bigfoot walking through the woods. So if you're not going out at night and you're just letting the recorders and videos and stuff run, your trail cameras and stuff run throughout the night, announce that it's you when you're approaching these things. So that way when you're doing evidence review and see it, then you can know and tell, oh yeah, this is where I was coming up because I just announced, here I am, I'm coming up to the camera, or the audio tape, auto recorder. So when you're going up to your auto recorder, you want to announce yourself that this is you and not a Bigfoot. So there's no confusion. The less confusion you have, then the better evidence you get. Because then you know for sure that it's not you when you don't announce what you're doing. And timestamp it. If your audio file doesn't tell you that it's 8 o'clock at night or 3 in the morning, you can figure that out by announcing when you leave the audio recorder down, announce what time it is. When you pick it back out later, announce, hey, I picked this up, it's now 7:04 a.m. The next morning, blah, 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 hit end. Then when you're doing your reviews and you know that it was 2 hours before that you heard this noise or this cool audio file that, something happened in, you can actually backtrack the hours and actually figure out what time this actually occurred. Kind of important if you're actually wanting to go back and do evidence reviews, to where maybe next time then hey, they're more active actually just right before dawn more than right before dusk, in those areas that you were at. So you can go back and try and focus more on those times. That's why time stamping, I feel, is pretty important to know when something happens. And that's my views on audio recordings. I hope you take these views and explanations out on your next hunt. Please leave a comment if these videos have helped you get more or better evidence. Please watch my other videos, and I thank you for your time. Good luck.